The beach is always a state of mind. It's supremely sensual. It's changeable and mercurial. It's a boundary, a door, a transitional space between the earth of convention, clothes, and humanity, and another world of beauty, bounded by a horizon and sky. You walk along the beach while gazing at the shapes, the colors, and the textures. You experience sensations of heat on your skin, smells, bird noises, sunlight, red shoulders, hot and cold, soft voices, wind and sand. You're always aware of the feeling of your body.
I'm Jeffrey Carr, and I get to live out in San Diego, a very beautiful area of the world. And I was formerly part of the Philadelphia art scene.
Jeff, I know that after you got your MFA from Yale, you taught all over the place. Then what happened?
So I got a job in Philadelphia about in 2003, where I was the dean at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, which John, of course, knows very well.
I certainly do. Back in 2009, when I was just beginning to make movies, I wanted to film a show at the Academy of Art by Sidney Goodman and Elizabeth Osborne and their students. The problem was I was told in no uncertain terms that I could not film in the building. That was until Jeff Carr pled my case with the Academy's president. Jeff, I am still incredibly grateful. Now, you were just about to say that the Academy is an
old and very distinguished school of art that taught the kind of art that I loved. Painterly painting, traditional sculpture, traditional printmaking. It was a fine arts school with a long tradition of American figurative and representational painting. And it sponsored a number of painters that I personally kind of worshipped. Some contemporary masters like Vincent Desiderio, Bo Bartlett, but also some very important painters that I grew up with. People like Sidney Goodman, Ben Kamihira. They're artists that I knew about since I was in my 20s. So it was quite something to get to teach at a school with a tradition like that. And I myself was deeply involved with perceptual figurative painting, a certain degree of landscape painting, and a great deal of drawing, all of which I knew the Academy still prized. So that was quite wonderful to be part of that experiment.
Were you influenced by any West Coast artists?
I fell in love with Bay Area figurative painting, like a lot of artists of my generation, and fell in love with Richard Diebenkorn, fell in love with Elmer Bischoff. Now, I think the best of the bunch is David Park. He had a big show recently, and we all realized what a great painter this guy was. I still look at Diebenkorn, and in fact have kind of reestablished my roots with Diebenkorn, and from Diebenkorn back to his own roots. The people closest to my heart were the people like Albert Marquet, André Derain, and of course Henri Matisse, all those great figurative modernists of the early 30s. Now that I'm older, oh my God, those artists just hold up. I'm amazed how good their paintings look, and I'm amazed how much they have to do with my contemporary paintings that I'm doing right now.
I asked Jeff to read some excerpts from his book, Beach, about what it was like to grow up in Southern California.
The California landscape's colors and smells and textures are what made me an artist. Where I grew up in the yellow-colored hills inland, the sky and the clouds reflected the distant sea. I attended high school in La Jolla, where the ocean was always present. I would walk down after class to the Windansea Beach or to the Cove in La Jolla to watch the waves. In those days, the body surfers ruled the beach. And and dogs with colored handkerchiefs played frisbee with dark-tanned beach kids. My first girlfriend in high school and I made out on the beach to the sounds of the surf.
Life is so unfair. Jeff and I are almost exactly the same age. But while he was canoodling with his girlfriend on a sunny California beach, and his Marine Corps Major father was giving John Wayne advice about how to act like a real soldier, my twin brother and I were growing up outside of Pittsburgh. Here we are, just moments before Santa told us only good boys get to live the California dream. It wasn't until we were 17 that we got our first glimpse of Jeff Carr's World of Wonders. In July of 1970, Life magazine revealed how when the days grow hot, California's beautiful girls spangle the beach. A few years later, Jim and I spangled an East Coast beach, but we never got to meet those California girls. You probably were out there when that was happening. Is there a gap between my fantasy of California and your current reality?
It's not like a Beach Boys album. It's just all kinds of folks. I get a kick out of seeing little kids skittling along the beach in their bright colors with their moms sort of tugging along afterwards. And I photograph these little people like little figure groupings. When I go to the beach, I'll normally do maybe about 20 pictures, not a lot. Then I go home and I cull them very carefully. I tug a little bit on contrast and hue, but I'm pretty good at composing with a camera. I don't do a lot of Photoshop overlapping or editing like I love a lot of people do. I like to pretty much take it the way I like to look at because I'm not very good at making up stuff. I'm good at finding stuff like shapes and relationships and colors. And also, the iPhone is a frickin' miracle. And all the artists, way back to, God knows, Chardin would have been using an iPhone if they had them. So I go back and then I got myself a pretty big monitor in a little tiny studio where I set up. I don't square up. I don't copy. I paint from it, drawing on the canvas very broadly, not from outlines. I really block in real quickly, but I'm composing. Color areas, constantly juggling and manipulating the color areas. And then I get a huge kick out of drawing my little people in my beaches. I just get a huge kick out of it. And I'm pretty proud of the way I can knock out a figure that looks convincing, like they're actually walking or they're actually moving.
When I look at Jeff's recent paintings, I can't help but be reminded of one of the artists that he mentioned earlier, Albert Marquet. A friend of Matisse, Marquet did two things brilliantly. At the same time that he was simplifying his forms, he was making sure that his colors and tones were absolutely spot on. Jeff does that too. And even if the iPhone is a, what did you call it?
The iPhone is a frickin' miracle.
I think it was Jeff's years of painting and drawing from life that gave him the skills to work so well from photographs. I live at the beach too, the Atlantic Ocean, not the Pacific, but the color is so believable. Your ability to capture what things look like at different times of the day and your chromatic sensitivity makes your work just beautiful.
I'm flattered because I want them to be beautiful. To paraphrase the god Matisse, I want them to be something you'd like to sit in a chair and just be with, something that's cheerful, that's nice. Now, I don't know how I mix all that colors other than I use a lot of pigments. I was trained to use 7 colors and mix down from everything. I've got lots of hues. I paint with a big orchestra because each one of those colors to me has a timbre, has like a quality to it that I need. I use them all. Something that I've begun to use a lot that people would be interested in. There's a range of grays that Williamsburg produces. I now find myself, instead of mixing complementaries constantly, which is what I've been doing for years, I use a lot of those grays. And I work endlessly. I mean, each has 5-6 layers of paint, and I will take it down in between layers a little bit with a big palette knife. And I work endlessly to get that light, because to me, God, that's what the most beautiful thing in the world is. The light out here is overwhelming. It's beautiful today right now. I'm looking out the windows now. The light is gorgeous. It's about trying to get exact qualities of intensity and saturation. I mean exact. And skin is gorgeous to paint, but the hardest thing for me to paint in the world is sand. So I paint sand over and over and over again. You can make a simple formula out of it, mix yellow and violet together and get sand. But it's a lot harder than it seems.
And of course, dry sand and wet sand and very wet sand.
Sand is like skin. It can be any color. Sometimes it's like bright violet. You look at it, it's like, oh no, this can't be. And then you mix up the violet, you put it down and just bang, it pops. That's the other thing. When you get the color right, it just makes the space. It makes the plane.
Now, Jeff, I got to ask you, California, I'm sure, is wonderful, but do you miss Philadelphia at all, at least the artist community here?
Oh, sure. Every once in a while, I get a sort of a sadomasochistic mood, and I want to say, oh, man, let's go back to where it's dirty and gritty. Well, I love the artists. I've got lots of art friends in Philadelphia, and I love the fact that it's a place that knows what a painting is. I love my new home in San Diego, but people are having too much fun to go through all the trouble of appreciating what I would call serious painting. Everything here is devoted to eating and going to the beach and being happy. So I miss the seriousness of the East Coast, and I miss the painting culture. So many great painters and such a history of great painting. I do miss that.
We missed you back, Jeff. And even though us East Coast artist types are very serious, maybe the California notions of pursuing happiness and food aren't such bad ones. Keep up the good work, young man. I say that because, believe it or not, Jeff is actually younger than the famously youthful Thornton twins. In addition to his beach scenes, Jeff has been working on a series of figure paintings, so keep an eye out. I may be making another movie about this wonderful artist and all-round good egg. Thanks a million, Charlotte.